What we want to know is who got the better deal, the US or Japan? Joining me now is Eswar Prasad. He's a senior fellow with the Brookings Institution. Great to have you with us. I don't want to preempt your answer here, but I think when you consider that Japan are now worse off than the 10% levy they were paying before, it's a complex question. Who do you think got the better deal?
It certainly seems like the Trump administration got the US a bit of a win here, because what has happened is that you're going to end up in a regime where American car manufacturers are going to be, to some extent, protected from Japanese competition. But Japan hasn't given, Japan is giving the US access to its markets for cars, rice, and so on. And it doesn't look like the Trump administration gave up very much. Japan has also, as you pointed out, agreed to invest in the US. But for Japan, it is a partial win, because one thing that was clouding economic prospects for Japan was the prospect of 25% tariffs on its imports to the US. And certainly 15% is better than 25%. But more importantly, this takes away some of the uncertainty surrounding Japanese exports to the US. And certainly Japan, at a time of low growth and low domestic demand, needs the US market.
Yeah, but it turns out, doesn't it, that 25% was just a threat all along. I mean, is this evidence that Trump's aggressive approach is getting results?
If one were to view these agreements that seem to be coming into focus, and what tariffs are being applied on US imports from the rest of the world versus US exports to the rest of the world, it certainly sounds like Trump and his team are winning. But the big question still remains whether it's going to deliver, as many jobs as Trump says it's going to deliver to the US, and also about who is paying these tariffs. All the evidence so far suggests that foreign manufacturers are not really cutting prices in order to account for the tariffs. It's American importers and perhaps even American consumers who are going to be paying the prices. So yes, a win if you look at the outcome in terms of tariffs, but certainly not a clear win for US consumers or businesses.
That's a very good point, because I think the broader picture of the economy in the US is concerning. The US dollar is continuing to sink. The economy is stagnant. But look, we have a dozen other tariff decisions still to come, deals to be set, most notably Europe and China, of course. Is the Japan deal perhaps an indication that Trump may not be willing to push his biggest trading partners as far as he claims?
Certainly not as far. And as you mentioned earlier, we started off with Trump making threats of very high levels of tariffs. Now, it's worth considering the context that America's trading partners face. Most of them, unlike the US economy, which has been powering along, have not been doing great. If you look at Europe, Japan, the United Kingdom, and most other countries, they are quite reliant on exports. Their domestic demand is not very strong. They're not growing very strongly. So at some level, they are very keen to come to an agreement with the US, which remains a very important market. On the other side is China, of course, and China has a lot of excess capacity that it has built up. So many countries around the world need exports, and they recognize that they don't want to open their markets to Chinese exports, and at the same time, they want to maintain access to the US market. So Trump seems to be playing it relatively well.